What's up, everybody? Welcome in a live edition, another one, Refuse to Lose podcast. Brady Farkas with you from Roundtable Sports. The Seattle Mariners are 2 wins away from the World Series. I cannot believe I am saying that. I cannot believe that you are listening to that. You probably can't believe it either. But here we are. 2 great wins north of the border against the Toronto Blue Jays have the Mariners in a position to do something they have never done before. I am pumped about it. You are pumped about it. The team is clearly locked in, and we are all following this run that hopefully continues deep into next week and the next 2 weeks or so in the World Series. We've got a full show lined up today here on this travel off day. Joe Doyle from Overslot Baseball and Mitch Levy from Mitch Unfiltered, longtime Seattle sports media personality, are going to join me in about 20 minutes. They're going to join live as well. I go on Mitch's podcast all the time with Mitch and Joe, and I thought, you know what? Let's do a little home and home. I do your podcast, you do mine, so they're coming on here again in about 20 minutes. As always, you can read all of our written content at Roundtable Sports, Brady Farkas and Taryn Kovac. Over there at Roundtable, we do all we can on the written front. We do all we can on the podcast front to bring you all the best Mariners coverage and all the coverage that you desire, and this has been a very fun year, obviously, to be in the Mariners content creation space, and we are here for you. So, again, Mitch and Joe in about 20 minutes. We'll take your messages. If you want to get in with some comments, questions, comments, hopefully no concerns at this point, but anything you want to get in, you can comment if you're watching live on YouTube, if you're watching live on X, and also we'll put this podcast out in full in audio form on Apple Podcasts and Spotify when we are done. Without further ado, let go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
When it comes down to it, I find myself right now using one word often to describe what we're seeing from the Seattle Mariners, and that is heroic. And I don't want to be hyperbolic about it, but it feels in sports terms like what we're watching is heroic. Heroic what we saw in Game 5 of the ALDS from the pitching staff, from the guys on short rest in the bullpen, from Jorge Polanco to the will to win it in 15 innings. Heroic in terms of what we saw Bryce Miller do on 3 days rest for the first time in his career in Game 1 of the ALCS. Not just eating up 6 innings to save the bullpen in a loss, but eating them up and dominating through 6 innings. And those 6 innings that Bryce Miller throws that helps save the bullpen's arms for Game 2 and subsequently, that changes the entire complexion of the series. Heroic in what Jorge Polanco continues to do. 7 hits in these playoffs, 6 of them for RBIs. Only player in baseball history to have 3 consecutive go-ahead hits in the 5th inning or later. What he is doing is heroic. What Cal Raleigh has done all season long at the plate, but what he continues to do every single night behind it. This team right now is full of guys that are fully bought in, that are largely performing well, and they are giving this city and this fan base a run that it has never experienced. It has been amazing to watch. It's been amazing to be a part of for me. It's been amazing for me to, help chronicle the story of the 2025 Mariners. It's hard to believe. It was 8 months ago that I was in Peoria in February. I was there from, I think, like February 23rd to the 27th or something. That doesn't feel like 8 months ago, but it was 8 months ago, and it is culminating in what we are seeing now. They are still playing. They have an opportunity to do something again that we have never seen before. Let's expand out, though, with where we are with the Mariners. And it's uncomfortable to say this. It's hard to say this because I will never, ever, when it comes to the Mariners, count my chickens before they hatch. It will never be over until it's actually over. But we have reached a spot where it would be a collapse if the Seattle Mariners do not win this World Series. It would be a major letdown and a major breakdown if they do not break the door down and get to the World Series for the first time. Okay, Sarah Langs of MLB.com had the stat out there earlier on Monday night. In series with this current format, 2 on the road, 3 at home, 2 on the road, teams that win games 1 and 2 on the road are 24-3 in series. Let me say that again. In this current format, with games 1 and 2 on the road, when you win games 1 and 2 on the road, as the Mariners have done, teams are 24-3. That's an 89% winning percentage. If you're going by the history, and I know it's 27 series, not 127 series, but if you're going by the percentages, the Seattle Mariners have an 89% chance to close out this series and get to the World Series. If they don't, it will have been a collapse. And I can't believe that we are in a position to talk about the Seattle Mariners not only getting to the World Series, but being in the driver's seat to get to the World Series and being in the driver's seat significantly to get to the World Series. Now, again, it's not over until it's over. And we saw the Astros win 3 straight games on the road just 2 years ago, right? The Rangers took the first 2 in Texas. The Astros took the next 3. And the Rangers ultimately won, I believe, in Game 7. But I don't want to see it get to that point. The Seattle Mariners they are now the favorites in the American League to play for a world championship. I shudder to even think at saying those words, but we are here. And not only do they have the statistical and historical advantages when it comes to this series, they are coming into these games in Seattle now with massive personnel advantages as well. They have home field advantage. They have George Kirby and Luis Castillo, 2 all-star starters. George Kirby, who's pitched excellently through 2 games already in these playoffs. Luis Castillo, who's been very good through 1 start and 1 relief appearance. They have those 2 arms going up against Shane Bieber, who made only a handful of starts this season coming back from Tommy John surgery, who just gave up 3 runs, 2 earned, on 5 hits in 2 2/3 innings against the Yankees. That is who Toronto has left to pitch, and probably either Kevin Gausman again on short rest or a 40-plus-year-old Max Scherzer, who is not right now the first ballot Hall of Famer that he was earlier in his career. They have home field advantage, they have the statistical advantage, they have the historical advantage, and they have the pitching advantages. The bullpen for the Mariners is hot. The top guy down there for the Blue Jays, Louis Varland, the Mariners have gotten to. Jeff Hoffman has been very iffy for the Blue Jays all year as their closer. If you look up and down this thing right now, the Mariners have the advantages. The Mariners have taken the best punch that Toronto can give on the mound in this series. They've already taken that and beaten it. Now they need to find a way to win 2 out of the next 5 games. And if they do that, they will be in the World Series for the first time. And I have to say this, like, I feel great about where George Kirby is at going into Game 3. We think of the Mariners as a young team, and really, they are not necessarily a young team. They are a youthful veteran team. They have guys who have been there before. They have guys who have done this before. They have guys who are 4, 5, and 6-year veterans. And George Kirby now, he has a playoff resume to him. Gets the save in 22 against the Blue Jays in their building. 7 shutout innings against Houston, in Seattle, in an elimination game. Starts game 1 of a series, starts game 5 of a series, and pitches well in both of them. You have to feel good about where George Kirby is at coming into this start. Now, again, it's baseball. Anything can happen, but if you're looking for optimism with the Mariners, that is another ounce of it. And the Mariners need to be able to capitalize on this opportunity. I don't say this to be a Debbie Downer, but I say this because this is uncharted territory for all of us. The Seattle Mariners need to take care of this opportunity. They need to take care of this advantage or this chance to get to the World Series and this chance to win it. You have to close the door in this series, preferably sooner rather than later, because as we've all seen, as we've all experienced, whether you've been a Mariners fan for 48 days or for 48 years. These experiences do not come around often. You cannot waste them. There's no guarantee the Mariners get back here next year. There's no guarantee they get back here for the next 48 years. We have waited that long for this. Take advantage now. Finish the job now in Seattle. Don't send it back to Toronto for games 6 and 7. Don't leave it up to chance. The Arizona Diamondbacks thought they were positioned well after 2023, did not get back here. The Philadelphia Phillies have been positioned for years, thought they could get back and win it after 2022, have not gotten back. We've seen it locally, right? Even after the Marshawn Lynch throwing it at the one thing, the Seahawks we thought were positioned well. They never got back. Being good and being set up well for the future doesn't guarantee you anything. You have got to take this shot now, and you have to win now. Finish the series in Seattle. Don't send it back to Toronto, and then give yourself an opportunity to be as rested as possible against the Dodgers or the Brewers with a chance to win the World Series for the first time ever. Okay, it's just the reality. It's the tough reality of baseball business. Josh Naylor could be gone next year. Eugenio Suarez could be gone. Jorge Polanco could be gone. Cal Raleigh probably doesn't hit 60 home runs next season. And even though we're talking about the pitching hopefully being healthy and the farm system being fully stocked, you're already talking about potential significant regression next season offensively. And if that's what's staring you in the face next year, you better take what's staring you in the face this year. And that is a chance, again, to win the World Series. It's the best chance you've ever had, and it might be the best chance you're going to have. You don't know that the Astros are not back next year, that Texas doesn't make a big splash in free agency. I'm worried about what the A's will look like for a while. Jacob Wilson, Nick Kurtzman, they are good. Lawrence Butler, Brent Rooker, they are good. So I don't know how the division manifests itself next year. And I can't worry about next year right now. What I can worry about is now. And this team has been resilient, has been determined, has been businesslike all year, and it's time to do it again. I don't think this team will be overconfident. I don't think they will be complacent, but it is time to, as Cal Raleigh's shirt has said all week, recognize the job is not finished and go in Seattle and finish the job. Now, Mitch, Levy, Joe Doyle are going to come on here in just a couple of minutes. I was on Mitch's podcast the other day, and Joe specifically mentioned the Mariners' business-like nature and kind of how focused and intent they look. I got to tell you, that stems, in my opinion, from Cal Raleigh. Cal Raleigh has become the leader of this team. He has become kind of the, I don't necessarily want to say the face nationally because I'm not necessarily into that, but in terms of the guy who has command of the clubhouse, that is Cal Raleigh. And that business-like attitude stems from him. And it's been that way all year. And I think that has been huge for this team, is that this team has a clubhouse leader. And J.P. Crawford is a leader in some ways, and Julio's a leader in some ways, and Logan Gilbert's a leader in some ways. But the ultimate leader is Cal. And he has been that way for a while now. And he's had this attitude, this business-like demeanor all season long. I mentioned being in Peoria. If you've been with us all season, you know I interviewed Cal Raleigh back in February. And I asked him about kind of the business-like nature that he was carrying himself with the sense of urgency that he was carrying himself with. Here's what he told me back in February.
I mean, it just comes from wanting to win, really. I want to win, and I know a lot of guys here want to win as well. So, you know, we've proven it before as far as getting to the playoffs, but, you know, we got bigger goals and bigger expectations. So, in order to do that, some things have to change, and, you know, we have to be a little more accountable for ourselves, and we have to step up to the plate a little more. So, you know, to do that, you know, sometimes things need to change. You need to make adjustments, and it's not just, you know, team, but personal as well for every guy on the team, and making those adjustments are going to be huge.
Talking about adjustments, talking about accountability, talking about changing things. And you could tell that Cal has been the spokesperson for it, and he has been the guiding example of it. And I've used this analogy before in life. I don't know that I've used it here, but why did Tom Brady and Bill Belichick work so well together in New England for so long? Well, of course they won, but why did they win? Belichick's a tough guy to play for, but what he had was Tom Brady's buy-in. And if Tom Brady buys in to what the guy at the top is selling, then the rest of the locker room, it filters down, and those guys buy into Brady. That's kind of what we've got here with the Mariners. Okay. Cal Raleigh has a demeanor and an attitude, and he's doing it. And the team sees, man, this guy is 60 home runs, platinum glover. He's an excellent player. And this is his attitude. All right, that's how we're going to be. He has the command. It's very clear. He has the command of that clubhouse. And Dan Wilson plays a part in it, and J.P. Crawford and Gino Suarez and Julio. Everybody has their little piece of it, but Cal is at the top. And he's been talking this way for 8 months. This job's not finished mentality has been what he's been living by since February. And maybe it was there last year too, but we are seeing it tenfold. He has not let off the gas all season. And obviously it was fun to watch his regular season, but it's also been fun to watch how he has grown in a leadership role and how these guys are buying into him. I think he believes in Dan Wilson, which allows other people to believe in Dan Wilson too, but also his attitude filters down to the rest of the clubhouse. This is the Refuse to Lose podcast. Again, you can find us always on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and we're doing more and more live shows here on YouTube. I would like YouTube to become a bigger part of what we do, but I know that the audio version of the show is always going to be the kind of the thing that we hang our hat on. You can also find all of our written content. You can do that at Seattle Mariners Roundtable. Just search for us, Brady Farkas, Taryn Kovac, Roundtable Sports, Brady Farkas Mariners. However you find it, we appreciate it. It's kind of a full throttled effort for us here. It's just what we do. We just want to cover the team from every angle possible. And we hope we do a great job for you at all of our various outlets. And also on the Roundtable note, remember, you can join our free community. We've gotten up over 50 people in that community now. And our goal now is to not only get the numbers higher, but to also just get the conversation going even more. And I can start the conversation, but I like you guys to get into it as well. We want to create this kind of full experience for Mariners fans at Roundtable, where up top is kind of your big J journalism, and down below is kind of the fun message board kind of content where we get fans talking with each other and interacting with us. And it's worked pretty well so far. We just launched it about a month and a half ago or so, and we're looking forward to continuing to grow. And again, this has been a great time to be in the Mariners content creation sphere. Game 3 is coming up on Wednesday. It will be 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. I can only imagine what the crowd is going to be like for Game 3. And we're going to get Mitch, Levy, and Joe Doyle on here momentarily. I'm going to ask them a question specifically about the crowd. And I will be curious how the Mariners handle the crowd. We hear so often about the Canadian invasion coming in from Western Canada when the Blue Jays come in the regular season. I wonder if the Mariners will restrict ticket sales across the border in an effort to tamp that down, because I think that is one of the big storylines actually heading into Game 3 of the American League Championship Series. It's George Kirby. It's Shane Bieber. Am I worried about Bieber? I don't ever want to be overconfident. I think he has a moxie and an experience level and a resume that speaks for itself. He won a Cy Young in the 2020 season with Cleveland. He's got experience in the playoffs. But that said, from a pure stuff standpoint, he's not somebody you would think the Mariners can't handle. He's not 97 miles an hour. He doesn't have the devastating splitter that Gausman or Trey Savage has. He is somebody that they should be able to hit, and we will see if they can take advantage of it. All right, let's go out now and bring on Mitch Levy from Mitch Unfiltered and Joe Doyle from the Overslot podcast. A little home and home. I was on Mitch's podcast the last 2 days. They return the favor now. So Mitch, Joe, we are live on Refuse to Lose. How are both of you?
I'm good. I don't know how Joe is. He's making a lot of noise over there, but I'm good. I don't know. We got to return the favor. Is that what it is? Is that what we got to do? We got to return the favor. I don't know how that we're returning the favor. What do you think, Joe? We're returning the favor?
I've been on this show 5 times, Mitch. This is my regularly scheduled podcast appearance.
This is 3 times for Mitch, and I believe this is 5 times for Joe, but that would put you both as leaders in the clubhouse, so no more grief from you, Mitch, about not getting on enough.
Okay. I'm here. This is my 2nd time. I'm happy to be here. Is there a game that we want to talk about?
Season 3rd time overall.
Really? 3rd time overall? Is there a game coming up or games coming up that we want to talk about, or what's going on? Why'd you have us on today? Is there Mariners news?
We're talking
week?
Mike McDonald.
Mike McDonald, yes.
Yeah. Since Mitch crushed Mike McDonald on his show, I would love for him to atone for that after the Seahawks' great win. But I do want to get to a number of things, and Joe has another job that I'm probably keeping him from. So I want to be cognizant of everyone's time here. So let me start with this. And Mitch, let me start with you.
Don't I have another job? I've got another job too, Joe. You're not the only one with the other job, by the way.
Your job was
your job is to get that handicap down.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Mitch, you are not a born and bred Mariners fan, but you have covered and talked about this team for 30 plus years.
Yes.
What does this run mean to you kind of emotionally?
You always use the expression recency bias. It's hard. It's hard for me to really say until they win the next 2 games. I think we can definitively proclaim this to be different than all the others once they obviously get to a spot where they've never been. It feels different, but I don't know. I mean, how did it feel in 2001? I don't remember how it felt in 2001. I was at all those playoff games. I was at all the playoff games. How did it feel in 95 when they got to the American League Championship Series and they're facing Cleveland after, Griffey scores from first? You're asking me to compare this run to that run, which was the first of its kind. They kind of saved the team in Seattle. They built the ballpark on that particular run. So I don't know that I can even answer the question comparing it to that. Once you get to the World Series now, we're talking about a whole different kettle of fish. But, back in 95, when they won the Yankee series, I can't tell you what the odds makers said about that Cleveland American League Championship Series, but I know this, that we all thought in Seattle that they were going to win that series. We thought they were going to be in the World Series. We thought they were going to beat Cleveland in the American League, and they didn't. When you go back to 2001 and they win 115 games and they get to the American League Championship Series, I know it's against the Yankees, but they had won 115 games, 116 games, whatever it was. We thought they were going to win the American League Championship Series. They didn't. So now we think they're going to win the American League Championship Series. We'll see.
Kind of striking the similarities between that 95 team that beat the Yankees and then ran into a young, upstart, hungry Cleveland team. You look at this Toronto team, they just, toppled the giant, took down the Yankees, and they're running into I don't think Seattle is obviously as young and upstart. I mean, that 95 Indians team was full of future Hall of Famers. I mean, that roster was absolutely loaded. And there might be some on this roster as well, but there is some similarities between, I saw so much media from Toronto saying Toronto in 5, Toronto in 4, we just beat the Yankees, we can beat the Mariners. Kind of feels like the Mariners are playing the role of the Indians here.
Joe, what does it mean to you emotionally? I know what it means to me. I have I have a feeling it means something similar to you, but in your own words, what does it kind of mean to you to watch this unfold?
Yeah, Brady, we've lived a very similar life, just in terms of age and in terms of what we've been through at specific checkpoints in our life. I think Mitch brings up an interesting point. This has happened so few times that what we are referencing in precedent, we were 11 years old. I was in 5th grade, 6th grade.
I wasn't 11.
Yeah, you were like 13. You weren't that bad.
I was like 70 back in.
But no, like when I think back to 2001, I was enjoying that because it was with my dad. It was with my family. It was part of growing up. It was, kind of one of those pillar foundational things as you're growing up a sports fan in Seattle. And so much time went by. We didn't get to enjoy Mariners' success in high school or in college or even after college in our 20s at all. So it's interesting. It doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like you should. It doesn't feel like a 2-0 lead. It feels like the work is still ahead of them. And I'm trying not to get too far ahead of myself with this, but it feels like a dream. I don't know how you feel, Brady, but I just until they actually get to the World Series, none of it perhaps feels real to me.
But let me throw one thing in that is different, Brady, before you jump back in about this run now, as we sit here today. Now, I can't remember, somebody might correct me in your audience about 95 and 01 and some of the other playoff runs. I don't remember them being in the American League Championship Series really controlling their own destiny at home. It's set up now differently than any of those other runs. You'd have to go back and check. I mean, they are sitting here, and we all we talked about it on last night's show after game 2 of our podcast, how important it is. I know I think of it differently than you guys, how important it is to not go back to Toronto.
The format was different in 95, but the Mariners did lead that series 2-1. I can't remember.
American League Championship Series? Yeah.
They led the American League Championship Series 2-1 and then lost the last 3. Again, though, I think the format was different. I don't remember if it was 2-2, 1-1-1 at that point, but it was different. They did lead it 2-1. So there has been a championship series where they controlled their own destiny, but not that involved them leading through kind of throttling the opponent on the road.
Well, Joe will tell you, and fairly so, that, going back to Toronto, look at the success going back to the Houston series on the road. And then from that point forward, how great they've been. Remember, they couldn't win a game on the road, but like the road trip before the Houston trip, we were talking about it. Will they ever win a road game again? But since the Houston trip, they've been great on the road. And you'll point out, going to Toronto, they're going to be fine. They're going to be set up pitching wise. If they need to win 1 out of 2 in Toronto, they're going to be fine. I don't look at it that way, okay? I don't think they're going to be fine. I think they've got 3 games at home. They're going to have the best home field advantage in all of baseball. Go win this series. And when I say win the series, win 2 of 3. Win 2 of 3. What's their record at home, Brady, as we speak right now?
I want to say 51 and 34, something like that between the playoffs and the regular season.
Brady and Joe, go win 2 of 3. Go win a series. Go win a 3-game series at home, and let's not worry about getting back on the plane, going to Toronto. Toronto will have the momentum even if they have to win 2 at home. That crowd will be crazy. I say we finish it right here. 2 out of 3 over the next 3 days.
Joe,
it's not really being talked about enough. It would be really cool for this team that they don't have home field advantage in the ALCS to do it at home. To clinch a World Series appearance in front of the home fans. I mean, as sweet as it would be, and it would be sweet to clinch a World Series in Game 6 or Game 7, I don't care where they do it. But if you do it Game 4 or Game 5 in front of this city, in front of these fans who you have consistently clinched big games, big stepping stones in front of this home fan base every step of the way, the division, the playoff berth, the ALDS, you've won it all in T-Mobile Park. It would be really cool to continue that tradition.
Joe, let me ask you,
because I'll be there, but
let me ask you this on that note. So I was at the ALDS games 1, 2, and 5 were electric, and it was a huge home field advantage. So much is often made about when the Blue Jays come to town, how they take over and neutralize that home field advantage. I'm actually going to be curious. And look, I think it's a little bit dirty to do this, but I would be very curious. Do the Mariners restrict ticket sales to Canadian buyers, like to try to keep the home field advantage? What do you think it's going to be like there given this dynamic?
I think it's going to be all Seattle. I think it's going to be 90% Seattle. And the reason being is we watched it sell out within an hour of the
Correct.
game on Ticketmaster for Seattle Mariners season ticket holders. And I think it's going to be hard listen, there's always going to be the secondary market. There's always going to be the stub hubs and the game times. But here's the thing, and Mitch, I think you're thinking the same thing as me. They're down 2-0. How many Blue Jays fans are going to be in line to spend $1,200 to get 2 tickets to see their team down 2-0 in a game in Seattle in a hostile environment? I just think if you're one of those people, and plus also, this is important, Ticketmaster has a rule. I experienced this. You can't sell more than 2 tickets. And if you buy 2 tickets, you can't sell more than one of them. So they are avoiding scalping. They're avoiding reselling by actually they will take back all of your tickets and repost them to Ticketmaster if they see that you have posted more than half of your order back onto the resale market. So I think everything lines up for this to be an extremely heavy Seattle Mariners atmosphere. And I also just don't think Blue Jays fans are going to be in the mood to spend that kind of money.
Mitch, let me ask you about Dan Wilson. We've talked a lot throughout the year about kind of these granular decisions. Who did he pitch in the 6th inning in this game? Who did he pinch hit for here? What do we think about the lineup construction in this game in May? And that's all kind of fair when we're going week to week or day to day. Stepping back, big picture now, 8 months of Dan Wilson, your overall assessment of what he's done, meant or not meant to this run.
Well, I should preface what I say by I'm not in the clubhouse like I would be every once in a while when I was working on the radio and so forth. I don't see the day-to-day workings like I might have seen it a little bit better back in the day when I was on KJR. I would just say this, a couple things. Number one, I want to like Dan Wilson because I like Dan Wilson personally. I've known him forever. He used to come on the show. His wife was great. I love everything about Dan Wilson, the way he was a player, the way he handled the media back when he was a player. Just one of the more likable family men that you'll ever come across. So you start there. And so as opposed to a guy like Mike McDonald, who I don't know, who I'm ready to go. I'm on the fence about him when he comes to town. I'm ready to go either way on Mike McDonald, the Seahawks. Dan Wilson, I've known forever. I want to like him. He's taken this team to the American League Championship Series. He's taken this team 2 games away from the World Series. That, at the end of the day, is the most important thing. We can analyze it until we're blue in the face. There's a lot of things that he does on a game-by-game basis in-game that I don't love, that I know that you guys don't love. Sometimes you include me on the texts. Sometimes you don't include me on the text. But I can sense he's doing things from a player personnel's perspective, pitching staff, sacrifice, not sacrificing. There are things that I disagree with him, but that's baseball. At the end of the day, they're where they are. And it's probably because of a bigger picture answer to your question, which is, how does he handle this team in the clubhouse? How is he on trips? How is he in the hotel? How is he pregame during warmups or workouts? How is he in spring training? Those are the things that probably have more of an impact, kind of the climate and the environment that he produces, than maybe even whether he sacrifices the guy to third in extra innings or he starts Logan Gilbert in game 2. It just might be that it's the other stuff that we don't see that makes him Dan Wilson, because he strikes me as a really hands-off, empower the players, not in his face, like the polar opposite of what maybe Lou Piniella was, that we all loved about Lou Piniella. So I don't know if I've answered your question. My guess is they are where they are for a lot of reasons, some Dan-related, some non-Dan-related, but the Dan-related part of all this is probably the atmosphere and the environment around the team when we're not watching.
That's the voice of Mitch Levy, Mitch Unfiltered. You can follow him on social media, subscribe to his podcast. Joe Doyle with us also from Overslot. This is not so much a question, just a final observation of what you just said, because I was talking about it before you guys came on. You can nod your head in agreement if you want or shake your head otherwise, but I think part of what's worked so well is that Cal Raleigh is a Dan Wilson fan. and Cal Raleigh is this team's clubhouse leader. So the fact that Cal buys into Dan and then filters that down to the clubhouse, I think that matters. So I think that matters in part. Joe, stepping away from just the game to game, I do like to look a little bit big picture. Let me give you the two scenarios. The Mariners win the World Series, or they fall just short of winning the World Series. How does the offseason change in your mind based on those two outcomes potentially?
The logical fan in me hates this, but I don't think it changes anything. I don't think if they lose 4 in a row and don't make it to the playoffs, or if they win the next 6 games in a row and win the World Series, or anything in between, I don't think it changes the budget at which this team operates. I don't think it changes the philosophy and process at which Justin Hollander and Jerry Dipoto handle things. I don't think it changes the fact that Julio Rodriguez is going to get a raise. Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Brian Wu, Bryce Miller, Cal Raleigh, they are all due for a raise. I think in a perfect world, and we've talked about this, you find a way to keep one of these guys. You find a way to keep one of Jorge Polanco, one of Josh Naylor. And if you can encourage, Eugenio Suarez to come back on a 1-year, $12 million deal, something like that, great. I don't think there's any way you're going to keep all 3 of them. There has not been a point in time outside of Robbie Ray that this front office has splurged in the free agent market. I think that will continue to be the case. The only question that I really ask is, and we haven't talked about this, is this farm system is so rich right now. It's brimming with 19 and 20-year-old talent. Do they push a little harder into the trade market this winter if there is anything available in the winter? There hardly ever is. Do they push a little bit harder this winter to try and, slam open this window and bring in a bat that maybe only has 1 year left or 2 years left? You do the Eugenio Suarez and the Jesse Winker type of deal again this winter. But to answer your question in terms of, will they spend more money? Will they reallocate the revenue that they've received for this postseason? And it's going to be a lot of revenue that this ownership group has made for this postseason, especially if they make the World Series. The amount of money that they're pouring in right now, that is gross margin that they did not plan to have, that is not going into player salaries, it's going to be considerable. Do they take that money and do they reallocate it into the free agent market? I don't see any way that happens. I do wonder whether or not this push and this success is enough to try and get a Logan Gilbert extension across the finish line.
Mitch, I feel like maybe Joe's far too logical for me on this. And I feel like I want to direct the second part of this at you, because in my mind, I think, look, there's a lot of different ways this can go. They win the World Series, so they double down and try to win a second one. They win the World Series, so they pull back and say, hey, we did it once. We don't need to go all in anymore. They lose in game 6 of the World Series. I can see a world, hey, man, we were so close. We're going to do what we can to get over the edge. There's a lot of different ways this can go. I have a feeling you think that how this season ends probably does dictate some of the offseason.
I actually don't. If my father were alive today, he would say to you, Brady, listening to you talk about this, he would say, Brady, you're trying to inject logic into an illogical situation. And that is, I believe this ownership, and look, we'll find out the answers to this question, but I feel like the ownership of this team has shown their colors, and I don't think it's going to matter what happens, because when the offseason comes around, they're going to look at numbers and they're going to look at the books, and they're probably going to just default to the kind of thinking that they have done during off seasons of the past. When I look at the 3 players, what I wanted to say, if I can throw this in, when I look at the 3 players that we're really talking about here, and that's Naylor, Polanco, and Suarez. I don't know, maybe you're talking about somebody that I'm not.
Those 3.
I think it's pretty clear, and I think Jerry will share this opinion. I think we all will. Obviously, the numbers to sign each of them are going to be different, so we're not talking about a binary situation. But I think Josh Naylor, the re-signing of Josh Naylor and what he brings to the table and his history in Seattle at that stadium and how he feels about being there and the fact of where he is in his career, Now, Joe can speak better than I can to the first base prospects at single A and double A. I think Josh Naylor's here. And I think as much as I love Polanco and I appreciate the Polanco hot streak that he's on right now, like you do, Brady, I think Polanco is way down here. And then I think Suarez is beneath Polanco just because of where those two guys are in their career from stretches. I know that Suarez has had a great year, but it's going to be hard for me to rationalize if Suarez keeps going the way he's going in the postseason, and let's say they play in the World Series and he doesn't give them much, and they've got Williamson and other guys, it's hard for me to rationalize even giving him $20 million or $16 million or $18 million for a one-year contract. I would make the priority Naylor, then Naylor, then Naylor, and then the other two guys. As much as I'd love to have Polanco back, I'd love to have Polanco back in the perfect world. But we've seen injuries, we've seen availability issues, we've seen not a good year last year. Naylor is way, way above those two guys in my mind.
Totally agree. And in the same way that Kike Hernandez is in some ways a hero in Boston for the loan, or Steve Pierce is even a better one.
Yes.
Just such an unbelievable 1 year. I think that's going to be Polanco in Seattle. I think the guy could get 3 years and $50 million. And we watch him every day. We know he's a DH, even if folks around here don't want to admit it. He is a DH, and it's coming up quick. Injuries have been an issue. And I just think with, Mitch, you mentioned the farm system. There's so many middle infielders coming up in this system right now that are close. And there's no way Polanco is going to take a 1-year deal. And I just don't think you can put that sort of money into a player that is going to be, and I'll put this in quotes, replaceable in the next 18 months. There's nobody that can replace Naylor, both in the farm system, both from a culture standpoint, both from a bat to ball standpoint. I mean, this team has been begging for someone that just puts together gritty at bats and drives long counts and puts the ball in play. He's left-handed. He hits that bill perfectly. I'm with you. I think that Naylor is certainly the top priority and by a sizable margin. I wanted to put in one thing. I guess it's advice for Mariners fans, and this may go without saying, but growing up a Coug, I've been a Coug since I was born. Both my parents, all my family went to WSU. My dad always instilled, during the Rose Bowl in 97 and 2002 and these big moments, like embrace it, like try and slow life down and just embrace it and kind of realize where you are. Because as we've seen, we can't take this for granted. It might not happen again for 25 years. So just take a moment to embrace the fact that your hometown baseball team is 2 games away from a World Series. They're playing their ass off in the ALCS. And you don't know how much of this team is going to be back in 2026. So for any Mariners fans that are listening to this podcast, and Brady, you've got a pretty big population that does, just take some time to kind of reflect on it a little bit, because it doesn't happen often.
That's how I started the show, by saying that same thing.
One last thought to you, Brady, about, if they win a championship, they're going to get the bug. If they win a World Series, they're going to say, let's do it again. Let's go. Let's expand the budget and let's go for 2 in a row, right? Just to that end. Let's say they win a World Series.
Mm-hmm.
What stops John Stanton and Chris Larson from saying in a private moment, hey, we executed our game plan. Everybody was crying and moaning and whining. What we did is we signed one guy during last offseason, and then at the trade deadline, we went out and got Naylor and we did it beautifully. We don't have to change our system one bit. Let's just do the same thing that we did last year, right?
You must not listen when I'm talking to you, because I said that was a possibility to you. You must have been formulating the answer in your head. So I
have no answers. I was just, maybe I was just drinking a little Diet Coke. I'm sorry.
And hey, the ownership group, if this team does win a ring, will be playing with house money for 3 years. They will have built up equity with the fan base, with what they did at the trade deadline. I don't think
it might be more than that, man. I've been thinking about that in my head. Like, I still don't give the Seahawks grief, and I'm still, like, we're talking 12 years now, and like, I'm still not complaining.
I do. I was in the John Schneider needs to go camp 5 years ago. But in any case, I think you reach the point, and we're looking way too far ahead now, but I think you do reach the point where Logan and George and Bryce and some of these guys start reaching free agency, and fans say, we could have won multiple. You missed your window. Just invest again, invest again, invest again. The goodwill only lasts so long in baseball. And you know what also only lasts so long in baseball? Contention windows. So hopefully they lean in, but I would expect the payroll to stay under 180 million for the foreseeable future.
I have one more question for each of you. Both been generous with your time. One more question for each of you. Joe, I'll go to you on this because you and I have talked about this privately, but I did want to ask you publicly. We saw Trey Savage pitch yesterday for the Blue Jays in Game 2. And look, he's had a meteoric rise to the big leagues, right? He's pitched at all levels this year, from single A ball to the major leagues and starting in the playoffs. Is he a comparable blueprint for Cade Anderson, who the Mariners took in the first round this year, number 3 overall out of LSU? Like, could we see him go through the same rise next year? Because if they think that's possible, it certainly could dictate some offseason decisions as well. But more of just a curiosity, can he get on that track?
Doubt it. There are checkpoints that Cade Anderson needs to check off that Trey Savage didn't have to. Trey Savage is big. He's physical. He's, durable. Cade Anderson is 6'1", 190 pounds, 6'2", 190 pounds. He's got to put on 15 or 20 pounds. Now, we saw George Kirby do it. He came in with a similar build. But from a scouting lens, Cade Anderson doesn't have the horse look to him. The other thing about Trey Savage coming out of college is from the time he threw his first pitch in 2024, he had a plus splitter. He had a 70 grade splitter. He has outlier release traits with the highest release launch point in Major League Baseball. Cade Anderson is much more John Lester, much more Cole Hamels, much more Max Fried. And I'm not saying that he won't contribute in 2026 because they might need him to. But right now, Cade Anderson doesn't have a swing and miss out pitch, a true plus pitch. He could get there, but he's not built the same as Trey Savage was coming out of college.
I'm going to play this clip for you, Mitch, and then I'm going to react to it, and then I want your reaction to it. So Craig Carton is a name that a lot of people probably know. Craig Carton is a longtime New York radio host at WFAN. He was on Fox Sports 1 for a while with a TV show. Now he's doing his own thing. Here's what he had to say after the Mariners won in Game 1 of the ALCS. So listen to this, and then I got a quick reaction.
Toronto suddenly forgot how to hit a baseball, which makes me think they were probably cheating against the New York Yankees. And were stealing the Yankee signs. Wow. And I'll go to my grave believing that.
No credit to Seattle's pitcher.
Because the dude started for Seattle last night was a journeyman, no name, their 4th or 5th best pitcher.
Yeah.
He was not one of their main guys. And Toronto, outside of the Springer leadoff home run, didn't hit the ball last night. And I'm saying to myself, no, wait a minute. Toronto can't hit the ball against this tool, but when Max Fried is on the mound, he couldn't get out of the 3rd inning against this offense, right?
Yeah.
Made me start thinking maybe we have another Houston Astros scandal on our hands with those rascals with Toronto.
So I'd like to remind people and Craig Carton that the Blue Jays went 8-5 against the Yankees in the regular season. They went 6-1 against them at home in the regular season. So the Blue Jays pummeling the Yankees is nothing new. And secondly, he calls Bryce Miller a tool and a journeyman, which are both incorrect. But Mitch, you, as I think the shockiest shock jock that I know.
What?
That's that's up there.
I'm not answering.
Brady has never listened to the radio.
First of all, what the shockiest shock jock? The best thing, what you don't realize is, here's what you don't realize, is that I've known Craig Carton since 1986. We were college mates.
Really?
At the Harvard of Central New York, Syracuse University.
You don't have any shock jock in you? Not even a little bit?
I've known Craig Carton since he was always tall. I've known Craig Carton for a long time. So I don't have anything bad. He's just trying to generate some buzz. The tool part is incorrect. The journeyman part for now is incorrect. I don't know what we think Bryce Miller is going to become. Why were they able to steal signs from the Yankees, but they weren't able to steal signs from the Mariners? I thought we tell people, I thought to some of our pitchers actually tell people what we're going to throw before we throw them with some of our problems on the mound. Don't we do that, or do we not
pitch
do
tipping? Well,
Yeah.
pitch tipping is not illegal, or stealing pitch tipping is not illegal.
Well-
I just think Craig Carton is a shock jock. I'm glad you're his buddy, and I'm sure at some
I
point.
didn't say he was my buddy. I didn't say he was my buddy. I haven't spoken to Craig Carton since 1989. He's not my buddy, but I'm glad that you're giving him a lot of publicity. I'm sure he's glad that you're replaying. As much as you don't like him, you're replaying his show on your show.
I don't think Craig Carton needs my publicity. I think I need his publicity more than he needs mine. But I don't know. I just felt like that. I could see Mitch Levy saying something like that in 1998. Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
1998.
Oh my God. All right.
Mitch was 73 in 1998, if my math is right.
That's right. I didn't even know what the word tool meant in 1998. So not me.
All right, Mitch Levy, Mitch Unfiltered. Give us the spiel. Where can we subscribe? Become a patron? All the above.
Give us the what? What did you call it? The
spiel.
What? Okay. The spiel is that it's Mitch Unfiltered. It proudly stars the two guys that flank me right now. At least on my screen, you flank me. I don't know how it appears on anybody else's screen. These two guys have been great. Joe and Brady. We make up something called the Mariners Note Table on Mitch Unfiltered. We've been going at it for the last couple of years. We're available to not only the free subscribers on Monday shows, but we also have patron-only shows for the paid subscribers of our audience. So it's called Mitch Unfiltered. You can find it wherever you find your podcasts.
Joe Doyle, Overslot Baseball, recruiting, draft, prep, college. Where can we find you? How can we support you?
Yep, Joe Doyle, MILB on Twitter. And then you can find all my stuff at overslotbaseball.com if you're into the draft and high school baseball and college baseball and all
This is
that
a little
stuff.
weird. Am I supposed to ask you these questions at the end of every time you're on Mitch Unfiltered? This is a little bit awkward.
You always
our platforms don't grow because of you.
Really? I feel bad because there'd be a lot of bell ringing if we're talking about our own platform. Am I supposed to ask you, Brady, at the end of every Mariners Note Table, hey, Brady, give me the spiel. How do we find you? I'm sorry because I haven't been asking you that.
You always say refuse to lose podcast. That's good enough for me. But since you're such an infrequent guest, I figured I'd give you a shot.
Oh, I see.
We're also intimidated, Mitch, because you say it's my show. This is my show. So we don't ask for much more.
This is my show.
My name's on the banner. My name's on the banner. Okay.
Okay. All right. All I know is that only the 2 out of the 3. Put your hand up. By the way, is anybody seeing Brady's hand?
I know. I don't do video very well, and Joe's giving me a look because
is that a Michael Jackson what the hell
He's
is
got that
that?
beautiful olive skin that blends in with the green screen.
What's going on with your hand, for God's sake?
And my teeth at the moment are getting green screen through them as well. So
at one point, it looked like you had Seattle Seahawks eye black on. It was beautiful.
The people watching on video are seeing it. The people who will see the video repopulated on social media will see it. But yes, the green screen is playing tricks. When these guys get gone, I'll probably fix it. But Mitch and Joe, much appreciated. 2 wins away from the World Series. I appreciate both your time as always.
Thank
you
guys. Good luck
with the jaundice.
All right, there goes Mitch and Joe. I appreciate both of them for coming on as always. We continue on. Yes, I am not a video guru here. I am not a video king. So yes, if you're seeing the video and you see a black spot under my eye or on my teeth, yes, it is from the green screen that I have the T-Mobile Park banner behind me. So I appreciate everybody for watching. Mitch and Joe, appreciate everybody for watching me. Appreciate everybody for listening. I'll work on the camera skills here, maybe in the off season, but the more I go live, the more things I discover that I need to get good at. So let's just, I want to wrap up 2 different things here before we get out of here. All right. Just because we talked about it with Mitch and Joe, the Naylor versus Polanco thing is pretty cut and dry to me also. That Josh Naylor is the priority on this roster in the offseason. First base is clearly a bigger position of need than the middle infield is. Naylor's 28. He's going to be expensive, but not break the bank expensive, 4 for 65 or 3 for 55 or 4 for 80, not going over 100 million. So a guy they can afford. They don't have a first baseman in the pipeline. Again, he's younger. We see the intangibles that he brings. He plays relatively good defense. The play in game 2, notwithstanding with the bad flip to Logan Gilbert. So I think that he is been a real positive for this team. I think he is, again, the clear need. I would love to have Polanco back. I just don't see how it works. Even despite how well he's played, he is a DH. Like, they need to keep Cole Young at second. They need to keep Michael Arroyo with the ability to play in the middle infield as early as next season. So I don't think Polanco plays a bunch of games at second. As a DH, he could play there, but I think they're going to have to play Cal Raleigh at DH at times, or Harry Ford at DH at times. So I just think it becomes too difficult to navigate. We saw Polanco with third not look real comfortable early in the season. So I think there's a world where maybe Polanco can play first base if Naylor isn't here, but kind of short of that, I just don't think it really fits for the 2026 Mariners. But this also does go to something that I've said all along throughout my career. The Mariners are exemplifying that you need all kinds of players. I don't think you can win with solely stars because you can't get 26 stars. And I don't think you can solely win with bargain basement players, but you have to be able to find a blend of both, right? You look at the Dodgers, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, that is certainly great. But then you throw in Chris Taylor, Max Muncy, these guys Justin Turner, they've found off the scrap heap. You need all of these guys if you're the Mariners, if you want to do something special. If you want a special season, you need contributions from everybody. You've got Cal and Julio who have grown into stars. Gilbert, Kirby, Miller, Munoz, largely homegrown players. And Munoz, though he didn't start here, has basically come up in the organization. Brash. You also do need your filler guys, and that would be your Jorge Polanco in this case. Bizzardo, kind of an out-of-nowhere guy. Gabe Spire, kind of a reclamation project, at least this year. And then when you got him in 23, you didn't really know what you had. So you need a bit of everything if you are going to ultimately do something special. And right now, the Mariners have found those bit of everything contributions. And lastly, if you are the Mariners, they've kind of proven something that has become more noticeable over the last several years. If you want to be really good, you've got to find a way to hit home runs. Like, I am with everybody. I am generally an old school guy. I would love to see the Mariners get him on, get him over, get him in. I'd love to see him steal base after base and bunt a guy over and hit and run and put the game in motion. And when it's July and the team's on a homer drought, offense can be really hard to watch. I'm with everybody on that. But as we've seen, I think teams in the playoffs this year that out-homer their opponents are 18-4. Like, you're not going to string 6 singles together against these ace pitchers to put up 3 runs. The best way to get 3 runs is like we saw with the Mariners yesterday. Hit by pitch, walk, 3-run homer, 1 hit. Okay, walk, 2-run homer. Like, taking advantage of another team's mistakes is and hitting the ball out of the yard is how you can create big innings. Okay, you're just not going to do the kind of offense that we often crave for in the playoffs. It's just not going to happen. And it reminds me of something that Doug Glanville told me, the former Major League outfielder. I was on the field with him in Houston at the Mariners series against the Astros, and I asked him, I said, like, is it okay to be so home run dependent?
It's absolutely a positive if you can replicate it. Now, you don't have necessarily control of that, but there's no doubt the teams that out-homer, they are much more on the success ledger side of things. So you get the quick strike. You take back leads. You win at the end with 1 swing of the bat. You're facing these aces that you have to chain together 5 singles against. I mean, you're not going to do that very often against Jacob deGrom or whoever, or Tarek Skubal or whatever. So if Tarek Skubal's on the mound, you got to think about, like, let me just quick strike him, get that 3-run homer, and hope our bullpen holds. So it pays to have power, and the Mariners made great moves at the trade deadline to get Suarez. And then you look around, like Polanco, incredible year, Arozarena, Rodriguez. Oh, and then Cal Raleigh, by the way. You got a bunch of dudes with 30 home runs, 25 home runs. That is dangerous. And by the way, they can steal bases too. So,
I mean, the Mariners do have a diverse offense in terms of the fact that they can run. And now Naylor's added, to Joe's point, kind of a contact ability to them. But power is something that plays in the playoffs, and we may not always like it. And look, if you go on a drought, you absolutely can find yourself home early like the Yankees did. So I get that there's risk in it, but this is an offense that can work. Teams last year in the playoffs, I want to say were 23-8 when they out-hit their opponents. Like, this is now a tried and true formula to winning in October. And the Mariners are doing it very, very well to this point. They have 2 games left to win, and then they can get to the World Series. I'm sorry Mitch thought my comment about being a shock jock was offensive, and I didn't mean to say he was a shock jock. I mean, I think he can have some shock jock in him. But he kind of cut me off before I could get to that point. I think he took offense to it when I didn't want him to. So I'm offended by what Craig Carton had to say, calling Bryce Miller a journeyman and a tool. That offends me more than anything that Mitch says. But he cut me off before I could kind of give a full context to it. So nonetheless, entertaining, Mitch Levy always. So Mitch from Mitch Unfiltered, Joe from Overslot Baseball, and me from the Refuse to Lose podcast, Brady Farkas. Appreciate everybody who's watching live on YouTube and X. Appreciate everyone who follows us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and all of our written content is at Roundtable Sports, myself and Taryn Kovac. Taryn is going to be on site Wednesday through Friday. Hopefully we don't even get to Friday for ALCS game 3, 4, and 5 in Seattle. If it shifts to Toronto for 6 and 7, I will be there. We certainly hope it doesn't. The Mariners have put themselves in a position to get to the World Series for the first time in franchise history. You're enjoying the ride. I'm enjoying the ride. We'll reconvene here later this week. Buster Olney will be with us on Thursday's edition of the Refuse to Lose podcast, and we will see how this goes over the course of the next couple of days. Brian Wu, I know, is going to speak to the media today, so we'll have an opportunity to hear from him. You can find out some of those comments over at Roundtable Sports. Much appreciated to all of you. And as always, go M's.